Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So today we're going to be reviewing the AOSENMA CG035 GPS quadcopter. Now this one is actually supposed to be a pretty good one, and this version here is actually the camera version. It's got a little gimbal and a camera on it, so it should be pretty interesting to see how this thing works. Anyway, today is all about the actual camera and gimbal version. I will have both versions down in the description under the video if you want to check out. I'll have the link to those where you can check the pricing and all the specs on them. It's actually FPV as well, so that's pretty cool. 5.8 gigahertz FPV. This one's got, you know, it automatic following, loss control return. It's got altitude hold, circling flight, you know, full on GPS and all that stuff, one key return. So this is supposed to be one of the cheapest and best little budget GPS quadcopters with all these features. So I'm really anxious to go ahead and review and flight test this. In this review, this is going to be a full review. We're going to do an unboxing, inspection, setup, a flight test out in the park today as well, and also a pros and cons after we fly it in the park. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and start unboxing it. This is the one with the FPV screen, and you have all those camera gimbal functions as well. Let's see what's inside. So it's kind of, you know, just very plain Jane, cheap packaging, kind of like how all of these Chinese quads are. Nothing special with the packaging. They kind of make it as cheap as possible. That's everything in that box. But here it is. Very cheaply packaged, but it does the job. I'm going to go ahead and take off this top piece. Very noisy, crinkly plastic packaging, but oh well, it's cheap, so can't knock it that much. So everything's just kind of smushed in here. Let's go ahead and pull out the quad first. So there we go. So the AOSENMA CG035, and again, we have some familiarities. This may be familiar to you. The MJX X100 looked like this, and it's kind of looks to me like it's a mash between a few. The MJX X100 face, it's got kind of the same kind of uplifted arms as the XK252 quadcopter. If you remember that, you see how the body kind of looks like that and the arms kind of slope up like that. And then the propellers and everything kind of looks like the Flying 3D X6 type of quadcopter. So it's kind of a mash to me between the three of those. And we've got our GPS unit here up on top. So we'll be getting back to that in just a second, giving it a little bit closer inspection after we kind of check out everything else we get in the package. So here are the landing gear. Looks like they already have the screws pre-mounted in there. We'll be putting that on in this video. Here are the propellers with a screwdriver, and these are an extra set, so that's great. You get an extra set of propellers in case you crash. You can get flying immediately. Pulling out the controller. So this is kind of a cheap, but you know, it's got a lot of functions on here. We've got three-way switches on both sides. We'll be seeing what those do. It looks like both sticks are self-centering, so that's going to be your altitude hold. Four-way button there, just a single button there, and then a single press button there. On and off switch here, a little lanyard hook there. Very cheap, but if it does the job, it does the job. And then we also have these switches on the top. So we've got each trigger switch has two buttons on top. Here's our battery bay. It takes 4 AA batteries, which we need to provide ourselves. And a little bit, you know, funky, but it does close and it snaps shut nice and tight. Just takes a little massaging to get that shut. And that's it. And so the antenna, I don't expect the range to be that great on this because you can see how it's got one of these antennas in here. It looks like it does have something in there. There's like a black thing sticking up. So hopefully the antenna is actually coming up in here for the control. This looks like it's going to be a system where it's going to be mounting up the FPV system, kind of like how MJX does on their stuff. Anyway, that's the controller. Can't really set it down. It's too rounded, so it's going to be able to just lay down like that. Here's all the FPV stuff. So FPV screen, there's a little screw bag. Here's the gimbal camera. So this is interesting. So this is the camera we're going to be screwing up to the bottom of the craft. And let's see what it is. So you know what? It's not really a brushless motor gimbal. It's servos. So you can hear the servo turning. So these are just micro servos that are going to keep the camera centered, it looks like. And then we can see we have our FPV antenna on the bottom there. And then we actually have 3 dip switches on the bottom to choose our FPV frequency if we wanted to change the frequency. And it's got this little decoupler. Looks like that's what these guys are using to keep out interference and stuff. It's got a switch here. It's got a micro SD card slot there on the side, so it looks like we can put a micro SD card slot directly in there. And there's another plug here. I'm not sure what that's for, but we'll try to find out. So it's just a 2 position gimbal. So you have your pitch stabilize axis and also your roll stabilize axis. And hopefully we can pitch this down manually if we wanted to. I'm not sure on that, but it does look like it kind of hits the gimbal arm here. So it looks like you're not going to be able to get really directly facing down shots, but at least we'll get some stability here. And then here's our controls. It looks like there's our power, and then it looks like there's our pitch and roll control that we're going to be plugging into the craft. So very simple, very light, not too high of a quality deal here, but at least you know you have the option to put that camera on there for the cheap price that this is. Okay, so here's the rest of the stuff. So we have our instruction manuals. We have to give us a little lanyard. That's great. And it looks like this is the stuff that we're going to be connecting the FPV monitor with. Check out that in just a second. And then we have a little bag to charge everything. So we got 3 chargers here. Looks like 1 for the FPV monitor, 1 for the camera. The camera may actually have its own power source embedded in the camera to charge there. Okay, so one's for the SD card, the micro SD card, and they are giving us a 4 gigabyte little card here. You can see it there. And also the card reader, you know, in case you wanted to move your video to your computer to watch it. And then the 2 chargers, one for the monitor, and then it looks like this one is going to be for that little FPV camera. So we're going to need to charge that up separate. Here's the FPV monitor, and there's the antenna for it. So you're actually getting you know, the whole white combo here. And let's see what this is all about. So it looks like it connects, like I was thinking, it does connect with this little push-in ball joint system. Looks like it doesn't matter which way it goes, it just snaps in just like that, nice and easy. And it looks like this is the clamp that actually can extend to remove the monitor. So you know you could put this monitor on another craft if you wanted to. There's a power off and on switch on that side and also a button. Let me see if I can open this. Sometimes these screens are difficult. There we go. So it is a spring-loaded hood, sun hood, so that's great. And let me see if I can take off this plastic. Actually, pulling off this sun hood, you can usually take these off. So let me pull off this sun hood to get to this screen protector. Peel that off. Cool. So nice little matte finish type of screen, not too shiny. And that's why we have the sunshade as well. So it's definitely a bonus that they give us a little mini sunshade that pops in there. It looked like the switch was up. So it looks like this battery may be completely dead. So I'm going to need to charge this, and hopefully it holds a charge. But there's a little charge port here on the bottom. So I'm going to charge this up. And I'm thinking that this is probably going to be switching our channels. So you could probably use this for any other, you know, FPV device if you wanted to have a monitor. But here is the clamp. So it's just a spring-loaded clamp here, very simple. And all we do is slide it in, and it hooks right in here. Not super sturdy. It looks like it slips around a bit, but definitely good enough for what we're going to be using it for. And then putting on the FPV monitor onto the controller, very similar to what MJX does. You slide this on and it should snap in. See that little pin there, snap in? So it's a spring loaded, so that won't come off until you pull this out and then push this thing up, and you can take it off nice and easy. So very good and quick and easy release FPV system, and it doesn't look like it's blocking the control antenna too much. You see how it's just blocking kind of forward and up a little bit. There is still room for it to transmit out here. So that's our screen, that's our full FPV system ready to go. Just need to charge it up. I hope it does charge because it looked like it was turned on. And then we can close this up and protect our screen when not in use. Break all this down if you wanted to. You can see that this does slip around a little bit. So if there was a little bit of a con, it's a little bit slippery in this mount. I guess you could put maybe some tape or some foam in here just to, you know, rubber or something just to make sure it doesn't slide around so much. The last thing in the package was the charger. So going ahead and pulling this apart here, it's just your very basic plain Jane charger, but it will do the job. You can see that it's actually only a USB power. So this is going to plug into like a cell phone adapter or a computer. And so this is telling me it's going to take probably quite a long time to charge the batteries in this. It does have a 2S charge port, so you could charge 2 batteries at the same time. Then it has your power and your charge state there. So let's go ahead and take a look at the quad here a little bit more in depth before we go out and fly it. Here's the battery. The battery is just kind of sitting in there. It looks like when you plug this one all the way in, it's probably going to turn on. And it looks like what they've done is they stuffed a little piece of foam in here for shipping so that it doesn't accidentally turn on, which was smart. It looks like a Dean's connector that's just kind of embedded in there. So a very simple process they did. Let's see what the battery is. I'm not even able to really see what the battery capacity is on this one. I think it's around 2000 mAh 2S battery. You can check the specs. I'll have that link in the description if you really want to find out what that is. But all you're doing to turn it on is slipping it all the way in and latching. I'm not going to turn it on right now, but that's how that thing goes. So it's kind of a proprietary system. Not really going to be able to put a bigger battery in here. It looks like that's as much as you can squeeze in anyway, unless you wanted to try to make your own, you know, Dean's connector battery and pop it in here, see what you could do. Micro USB slot on the side, so maybe you can get into the firmware flight controller to make some adjustments. We've got LED lights on the bottom and also on the bottom of the motors. We've got our 3 connections for that FPV gimbal. So it looks like one's probably going to be the camera, power, and then the access, 2 axes of the gimbal perhaps. It looks like we have a little button here. Maybe that's the on-off button to turn it off and on. We'll be checking that out too. Here's the 2 leg hookups, and that's actually the camera hookups. So let's go ahead and put all this stuff together real quick. Let's go ahead and get our screwdriver, get all our legs ready. And the legs are very simple. Just find the one. They only can go in one way. So you couldn't even put it on the other side if you wanted to. There's a certain shape to it. So just put the legs on. They're already pre-tapped. The screws are already in there. All you got to do is put it on and screw them in nice and tight with the provided screwdriver. So that's great. Okay, cool. So I got both legs on. And just make sure you screw those in nice and tight so that when you are calibrating or whatever, it will sit level as possible. So legs are on. You can see how it looks very similar to some other quadcopters. Kind of reminds me of the JGRC X1 had this out and forward look. I think the Chroma quads also have that. Anyway, putting on the camera. See how hard this is. So very simple. They're all pre-labeled. We've got 1, 2, 3 stickers on here, as long as yours haven't fallen off. And then we have 1, 2, 3 on the servo leads. So you can't get much more easy than that. All we're going to be doing is putting them in. These are notched, so you only can put them in one way. So putting the 1 into the 1, the 2 into the 2, and the 3 into the 3. So you can see these little nubs sticking down, and those are just going to go right into the female part on the gimbal plate. And that's very simple, and that's really all we have to do is match those up and make sure the camera's facing forward. You can see that the entire cover kind of goes over all those servo connectors too, so we're not going to have to worry about those popping out. And then we still do have access to this button here, nice and easy, the power switch. Then we're simply just taking the screw bag that they gave us with all these extra screws. It looks like they're all the same size, and so they do give us some extra ones, but all I need is 4 of them. And go ahead and just drop them in these little slots and screw in all 4 corners. course, at this time you want to make sure that you are not screwing into any of the wiring. Make sure that when you do push this thing closed, you go ahead and check that none of that wiring in there is going to be interfering, you know, with where these screws are going. Okay, so that's got to be probably one of the easiest gimbal installations I've ever done. Of course, you know, this is a cheap little type of gimbal, but very simple nonetheless. You can see that it's mounted up there to the bottom, looking great, and that's how it's going to sit there. We can kind of see the whole gimbal up to the bottom, and this is how it's going to perform. So the camera, pitch and roll there, and then we still have access to our power button. So this does come with propeller guards, so if you're a beginner or you just want to have that added protection to, you know, be more safe around people or objects, or prevent the blades from getting messed up if you crash, they give you 4 propeller guards, so you can choose to put those on if you want. I'm not going to really put them on for my flight test, but if you do want to put them on, it looks like they're fairly easy. Flipping the arm over, and then just going ahead and pushing in these 2 deals here, where you have the screws that are already in place. I guess you could take those screws out if you wanted to, but it looks like maybe only really need to take out 1 screw. It's already pretty tight just pushing it in, but if you really wanted to secure it, just go ahead and take out that end screw and then put it in again right over this propeller guard. Anyways, so I didn't go over the manual, so let's go ahead and check out the manual real fast. So you get this warning card after brushless motor stops. Pull the battery out. So they want you to make sure you pull that out. Here is a Chinese and a English manual. So let's just go ahead and skim through this really quick. I'm not the best at reading manuals, as you may know if you watch my channel. But here we go. So it kind of tells us how to install your propellers, what all the plugs do, which we went over, and here's all what the switches do on the controller. So I'm just going to kind of zoom in here and let's see what they do. Okay, so it looks like the SWB, which is SW2 on the instructions, all the way up is normal mode, down to the middle is GPS mode, and all the way down is return to home. And then on this right switch, all the way up is fix point set high. I guess that would be altitude hold. 1 down is surround point, so it's kind of like a point of interest. And then all the way down is going to be headless mode. So both of these up would be altitude hold. Clicking this down, GPS, and then you can do all those other functions within GPS or altitude. And then when you click this one, whichever mode you are in on the right, if you click this all the way down, you'll have that return to home function. And then up here we have our camera up here on the top left. So this is going to be our photo taking and our record. So this one should be photo, this one should be starting and stop recording. And then on the right hand side it says automatic following. So that's how we engage our, you know, follow me mode with the top left trigger, and then internally frequency. So not really sure, maybe that's switching the FPV frequency or something. We'll have to check that out. So we press the key 3 consecutive times here to do, it looks like a takeoff 1 2 3 and a landing 1 2 3, and it from a hover it will land or take off. Over here it looks like our cradle, so it looks like we can adjust our pitch and our roll in increments right here with this one if we wanted to, this 4-way little pad. Then on this one here, this looks like our screen switch, so not really sure what that does, but maybe that's also something to do with the FPV screen. So this looks like some kind of calibration, both sticks to the top left. I'm not sure if that's the accelerometer or the compass calibration. It's a little bit confusing reading these instructions, as it always is with these Chinese manuals. Okay, this looks like this is the gyro. So apparently that might have been the accelerometer calibration or the controller calibration. And then this one here looks like this is the gyro magnetism calibration. So just follow these steps, put it in a certain mode, and then throttle down, and we're spinning it here on the ground. Anyways, quick little thing on the manual there. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and power this thing on and see if we can get just some kind of screen and FPV on the bench here on the table before we fly. So I'm going to go ahead and push in this battery, and of course we've got to turn on the power here, so the little power switch on the bottom. You can kind of click and hold this, and the gimbal will go kind of up and down. You can do clicking in increments or hold it. You see how the camera is actually pitching down now. It looks like we may need to click this switch here. So there's a little switch on the side. I'm going to click it back. It looks like that may have done it. So let me go ahead and press scan again. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so it found it. So make sure you switch that switch to the back. There's a little switch there. Switch that to the back and you're ready to go. So we can see that we've got the FPV. So it's not going to be like a brushless gimbal. I'm already seeing, you can see the shake and stuff. Really all this thing is doing is kind of trying to keep it level, facing forward. It's not going to take out any of the shake whatsoever, but it is going to kind of try to keep it level. So that's what our latency is. It looks like it's maybe, you know, a couple hundred milliseconds, maybe 100 milliseconds or two. But not bad. I mean, for a full HD FPV setup, looks like it's going to do fairly well. I can see that the gimbal looks like it had already lost its level. See that? I had leveled it out and now it's completely unlevel again. So looks like we may need to be adjusting that if we're doing kind of hardcore fast flying. So not the best gimbal. I mean, it's a very rudimentary, simple, cheap one, but it looks like you're going to have to keep adjusting it while you're flying. So real quick here, I know the lights are flashing, but let's just see what's up here. So we do have some OSD up here on the top left. You can see that we are showing our channel. We're showing our RSSI, so it does have telemetry for our control signal. And then it's showing our RX voltage is 42%. And then here's our transmitter voltage here. And then all it has is our recording here. You see those zeros. It's maybe kind of hard to see in the camera, but those are our zeros for the video ticking down. And that's kind of all we get. Very similar to how the little X6 was, the Flying 3D X6. Not much information on the screen, but at least there's something. Anyway guys, that's kind of everything in a nutshell for the unbox, inspection, and setup. Let's go ahead and take this thing out to the park, do our flight test with the pros and cons, and see how it flies. Okay guys, so we're at the park with the CG035 AOSENMA. Late afternoon, so the sun's kind of down, so nice and cool. But let's just go ahead and do this thing, do the test on it. Now this does have GPS, so you got to let the GPS lock on. And what I found is the calibration for the compass is pretty easy. All you're doing is holding the stick down when it's on, everything's on, and you just toggle your left toggle here up and down from the middle to the top like 4 or 5 times until you see the backlights kind of change color, and then you just go ahead and turn it like this 6 times total, and that seemed to do it for me. That's a pretty easy calibration. I'm not going to do it right here. I already went ahead and did it. So anyway, let's fire everything up and get this thing started. So first thing we want to do is turn on the controller. So we go ahead and power on with a switch here. Power on the quad just by pushing in and then pushing in this power button here one time. Make sure it's kind of sitting level, let it kind of do its boot up. And now this thing is acquiring GPS satellites, and what you'll see is, hopefully you can see this here, I kind of marked up this so I can have an easier time deciphering these controls because there's quite a bit of them. This red light, if it's off, that means the GPS is good on the drone. If it turns off on this one, that means that there is a GPS in here apparently for follow me function. So that means that the GPS is good on here. So you want to make sure these 2 lights go off before you fly. So we're going to wait on that. And meantime, we're going to go ahead and turn on the camera. You can see this gimbal camera here. It's sort of gimbal. It's shaky, but it's just servo gimbal, 2-axis gimbal. But you need to turn on the FPV camera. So you push that switch to the back. You're going to see the red light come on. And now it's actually transmitting the video. So let's see if we can pick that up. If you can't pick it up, you see how it's all fuzzy? You go ahead and you press this side button here. And this one's kind of cool. It has a scanner. And it's going to scan through the available channels. I think it's 40 channels. And there we go. So we are ready to go. I've gone ahead and marked this up too. So this is the follow me function. This is video and pictures here, and then these are all our modes here. So both up are the normal. This one down is in GPS. This one all the way down is return to home. This one in the middle is point of interest, and then this one all the way down is going to be our headless mode. So we'll go ahead and test all that out while we're doing this. Okay, cool. So we're just waiting for GPS satellites, and the cool thing about this is you can use this button here to go ahead and level your camera out. And I noticed with this one, if you fly a bit, the camera does get out of whack, out of level. So I'm just going to kind of physically level it with this thumb pad here. You can see that we have both lights off. So guess what that means? That means we're ready to fly. We have enough satellites, and so let's go ahead and launch. So what I want to do is see if, I know it'll launch in normal mode, but I want to see if it'll launch in GPS mode. So I'm going to flip down to GPS and then pop this 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And it should do a launch. There we go. So that was a completely automated launch. You can see here that the camera is skewed again. So let me go ahead and correct that. Level it out. So that's a little bit of a con on this one right off the bat, is the camera does get out of level. I guess it's kind of hard to see the horizon, but this would be a good shot of the horizon. So I'm going to move that to the right, because I'm on a mountain, so it's sloping up this way, but this edge of the grass field is going downhill, so that should be level. So I'm going to level it on there. And we can see how it's just kind of hovering there. Oh, yeah, it's getting out of whack again. It's a little bit of a con with this one. The cheap little gimbal they give you gets out of whack. Anyway, what can we do? So you can see that we launched in GPS mode. I would advise to leave it in here, because watch what happens when we go into normal mode. Even though the stick is self-centering, watch what happens. See how it's dropping? So it seems like for some reason in normal mode it just wants to drop unless you give it a bunch of throttle. So I'm not even going to go into normal mode. I guess if you want to do faster flying or something, you could. I'm just going to leave it in here. So what I want to do is I want to start video. So I'm pushing this button here. And yeah, so our video is ticking away on the screen. So that should be taking video now. Let me turn so we're kind of out of the horizon, out of the sky. Yeah, see how it kind of went up? Whoops. It kind of went up and it's skewed again with the gimbal. So not too great, not too satisfied with this thing as far as the camera goes and the gimbal, but I'll have that video. I have the stock card, SD card in the camera, so I'll have that up on the screen while I'm flying. You see how it's kind of going down now? So it seems like with this one you're going to constantly need to like fiddle with the camera. So not that great of a gimbal camera. Okay, so it had plenty of time to kind of acquire satellites. It should be all settled in. And let's see what we can do now. So here's our yaw rate, GPS. So that's full stick to the left. That's what we can expect there. The controller does feel a little bit cheap, like it feels like there's more resistance to the right than there is to the left on the controller. So that's, you know, a cheap little thing, but for somebody that wants to get into GPS quadcopters, might be okay. You see how the camera again, it kind of went up, and so I have to hold it. You can either hold it or just click it individually to kind of level it out. Alright, full pitch forward, GPS mode. Looks like it will hit the ground. Let me go up a little bit. Full pitch forward. Yeah, so it's going to drive itself into the ground if you let it. So the altitude hold isn't really going to do the job. You've got to give it more throttle. But it does hold altitude if you're not moving. It holds altitude very well. And look at the camera, it's all screwed up again. So, adjusting to the left. Oh gosh, this is like a waste of time to adjust this camera all the time. Kind of irritating. Well, that's how it is. That's why I do these reviews, so you guys know what to expect. So far, not recommended. The camera version is not recommended as it is now. Okay, anyway, that's what we can expect for GPS. That's about how fast you can fly. I'm going to give it some throttle. See, I've got to give it like plenty of throttle to keep it up this high. Whoa. Don't hit the, I almost hit the power lines there. So it's going pretty quick. You know, that's probably, gosh, that's got to be like at least 20 miles per hour. It doesn't have any, you know, mile per hour settings on here that I can see, so it's got to be going around 20. You can see though that when we do full pitch forward, the camera gets kind of wonky. So looks like it's pointed up at the sky again. Let's try to get the camera down again. A little frustrating. Okay, so what else can we do? Let's do point of interest. Actually, let's do follow me first. So say I want it to follow me. Let me just get me in shot. If we can deal with this crooked camera. I don't think the camera is going to be pitching on its own if we're follow me, so we need to center ourselves and then go ahead and hit follow me here, this button, and you see it turn to where it thinks I am. Wow, the camera just got all out of whack again. Amazing. And there we go. So it's kind of a lock. It's kind of a heading lock follow where it's not going to turn. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the H501S the Hubsan had, where it just locks its position in space and it will keep its distance and its heading facing you for wherever you set it. So pulling back. Okay, so I'm getting a beep here. I thought this was, not sure what that light is, but that light came on and it started beeping. I kind of forget what that one was. I know that this one is like a distance alarm. Hopefully we're not running out of power already. Anyway, let's see what else we can do. Okay, so that is follow me. It works fairly well. It's still not pointing like directly at me. You see, if I turn it, for some reason it's kind of pointing over there. I'm not really centered in the shot. So not entirely awesome follow me function, but it does work somewhat. But unfortunately with this camera version you have to keep adjusting the camera, which is really irritating. Okay, so going out of follow me, let's see if we just press that again. Okay, so that can cancel it there. Let's see if we go into follow me and then push forward. Okay, so what we can do is we can adjust our position and it will still follow us. So we can put it wherever we want in the sky. Okay, yeah, and you can still have it follow you. Alright, so that's cool. Oh, are we running out of power already? I hope not. We might be running out of power. I'm seeing the lights flashing. Anyway, real quick, headless mode. That way, turn on headless mode. I'm spinning and I'm pushing out away from me. It should know where its GPS controller is. And I'm spinning and forward's always forward. Back is always back. It's pretty good. It's a little off. For some reason it thinks I'm over there. See how when I pull back it's going that way? When I pull back, there, now it's, if you let off the stick and pull back again, pretty good. I mean, at least when I pull back, it's coming back to this controller. So let's turn that off. I want to go back up all the way up to normal. And let's do a quick little return to home. I think that's pretty much everything else I can do on here. The pictures and video look like they're going to be pretty much total garbage because this gimbal has problems. For some reason I have gimbal problems with a lot of these cheap quadcopters. I'm sure it's not just me. Alright, let's just try a picture. I went ahead and snapped picture and it stopped the recording. Taking a picture, turning, oh, what do you know, our horizon's messed up again. Constantly have to adjust the gimbal. Another picture of the trees so you can see how that picture looks. I'm going to start the video again. Oh, it's already landing. Okay, so I didn't even get to test the return home. it's already in its low voltage state, and when I'm pushing up on the controller, and it's going ahead and shutting off the power. Let me go ahead and stop this video. I will tell you though, I did test this in my yard, the return to home, and it was pretty good. You know, it was just a few feet off, so I can vouch that the return to home is pretty decent. You could see that when we were doing the follow me, it was pointing like over here. It thought I was over here and I was kind of out of the center no matter what I did. That was kind of the accuracy of the return to home too. It was probably, say if I took off where my feet are here, it would land over there. So that's not bad for a cheap little quad like this. I'm not going to knock it too much for that, guys. So that was pretty much it. That was all the functions of this guy. Sorry it wasn't a longer flight, but I'll have the flight timings go ahead and pop up on the screen here so you can see what that flight time was on the entire flight. That's not too bad for like an FPV little miniature quadcopter like this. So little pros and cons. As you can see, the gimbal is pretty much almost totally non-functional. You can see it right here while I'm moving it around. It does try to stabilize it, but it's real shaky because it's just two little mini servos. And look at that, it's constantly tilting to the right for some reason, no matter what I try to do. So some little weird malfunction or defect, I'm not sure what that is. Everything else seemed to work pretty good. The follow me was a little off, it was a little skewed. It does have, you know, a nice quiet tone to it. It's not too loud. You do have all these lights here that kind of tell you what they are. I would recommend labeling your controller if you're like a, you know, first time buyer or a first time GPS quad purchaser, because this will confuse you with all these switches and stuff, of course, until you get used to them. But I go through so many of these reviews, I have to like mark them like this because I forget. I'm reviewing multiple per day usually. But anyway, for what it is and the super cheap cost, it's not that bad. But I would recommend, I'm not sure if they're all like this and have this gimbal problem, but I'd recommend getting maybe the one without the camera, save some money, and just go ahead and strap your own, like, you know, GoPro or Runcam or something on there. That way you'll save some money and you won't have this kind of problem with this crappy camera. Anyway guys, I think that's about it. Seemed like the headless mode worked fairly well. The point of interest, okay, yeah, that's what we didn't get to test, the point of interest. I will say that I did test that in my house and it seemed to work good. Again, it did think I was, you know, a couple feet that way, so I was a little bit skewed out of the picture. But for what it is, it seems to work fairly well, just not the best. But for the money, it's okay. So apparently that light there was a low voltage warning. So if you're flying around and you start hearing this beep, the controller, and also seeing that light there, that means it's time to come in, and because it's going to land soon. The lighting is definitely a pro on this one. You can see the red lights and the green lights in the back, and also the mode lights here on the front change as you switch modes. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed that review. Do a lot of reviews like this, so check out the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. I will have this down in the description, so you can check the link below the video and go ahead and check out the pricing on this. This is a cheaper quad, so it's going to be affordable. If you or your kid or somebody you know are getting into GPS quads, this may be a super cheap option for you. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.